Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another segment of Asaph Cafe. I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and on my immediate left, affectionately, we have Raging Rocker Emmet, and Emmet and I are going to do a one-on-one, and
Yep.
it's always fun doing these one-on-ones. I really enjoy them because there's a little intimacy about them.
Exactly,
and,
exactly. Yeah.
And you could just talk. And,
Exactly.
And Linda was on the last show, and she gave you and I a lot that we can talk about on today's show, so this will be kind of cool. And,
Yep.
And so on. I'm going to start with put your dreams away for another day.
Heavenly Father, in Jesus' name, thank you for our time together, and again, bless our food in Jesus' name.
Okay, I'll do the entire song.
Spin inside the dryer all day long. Oh, it's beautiful. You know, one of my easy listening tapes broke once. I was recording from a radio. It was like cable radio they used to have, and I don't even remember, DMX. It was, you have a DMX box and it could attach it to your stereo, because that was a service that the old, cable companies used to have before they had the music choice channels. Well, one of the tapes broke because of age. Isn't that awful?
Oh, those things happen. Was it like a cassette tape or
yes,
a regular,
cassette tape that I just recorded. I'm
gonna stop on that note. But yeah, the problem with those kind of tapes is they would tear easy.
Yeah.
And not last long. So that's why I appreciate the DVDs that we have.
Oh yeah.
We play them indefinitely and not have a problem.
Yeah, but I love recording on old, regular cassettes, because then if this music comes on TV or radio, you can record it and hit record, and then just, I have so many of those tapes. Got tons of them.
Cool.
Yeah, that's often how I get my music.
Good. Do you have a collection of music that you have?
Tons. Easy listening.
All easy listening?
Punk rock. Heavy metal.
Tell me some of the people that you have in your easy listening collection.
That is easy. I'm not sure about just on the regular on the radio.
Okay.
I'm not, but I got a ton of Gordon Lightfoot, Neil Diamond, and John Denver.
I just wanted to get an idea. Who else?
Yeah, and then of course Lawrence Welk. I got tons of Lawrence Welk albums.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, I even got such like Percy Faith. I have a lot of Percy Faith in records. And how do you pronounce his name? Andrei Kolstanets?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I've got. Who was I got
Andrei Costa.
I can't pronounce it.
I know who you're talking about.
Tony Mottola.
Yeah, I know
I love Tony Mottola. I've got.
So you have like mostly primarily the people in the '60s.
Right. I do. Yeah.
That was the period when all that kind of music came out.
Yeah.
And we can't forget Burt Kempfert too.
Yeah, I wish I had some Burt Kempfert. I got to pick up some good Burt Kempfert.
We can't get the hit maker. Here we go.
Yeah, I got like tons of Sex Pistols, Nine Inch Nails. I've got a Black Flag. I've got Social Distortion as far as punk rock. I got some Casualties, Defiance. I've got so much punk rock. It's amazing. A few heavy metal albums. Just a mix of everything. Of course, a lot of Toddler tunes from the Toddler stations. And even the Wiggles music. I got a whole eclectic stuff, Yeah. I love Gordon Lightfoot. Yeah.
Is he your favorite, Gordon Lightfoot?
Gordon Lightfoot is one of them because I play his records over and over again all day long. It's like it's a free day. Have some nice drinks, look at the sunshine like that backdrop, and drink to Gordon Lightfoot and Neil Diamond. I just love Gordon Lightfoot.
Yeah, that's cool. So you got some pretty good taste. But you have these on, are they like LPs or tapes?
Both. LPs,
you have
tapes.
The 32 LP and the...
Yes, and tapes. And I've also got even the regular records. I've got them on CDs. Yeah.
Well, see, speaking of tapes, this is why I have my VHS collection. Because they don't play as well as the DVDs. And Blu-ray, but they're fun to collect.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember the old 8 tracks that they used to have?
Yes, and I never got into them.
What was funny about those is once a song plays, you couldn't rewind it and go back. You had to wait like a whole hour.
I know.
Where it went around the whole cycle again.
I never cared for 8 tracks. 8 tracks. Never owned one in my life.
Oh well. Anyway, yeah, those were the good old days.
Yeah.
And then the technology came out, and
Yeah.
everything changed.
Yeah, yeah.
One thing I do like about DVDs is, like, I was watching Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston, and we talked about it in the last show, and just the details, like when you look at the water, the lake scenes.
Yeah.
You can see the sparkly colors and things that you can't see on VHS.
Yeah, and they are a lot less bulky than VHS tapes. If you're moving somewhere, you got to put all these VHS tapes in a box and move them and put them, because I got so many. I got enough for a library.
300 in my collection.
Wow, that's cool.
VHS movies.
That must be what I have, because I have a lot of blank ones that I just stuck in the TV and recorded. No,
I just bought them. Well, a lot of stores like Blockbuster and stuff used to have, they used to rent the VHS movies.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that.
But then when the technology came and they had the DVDs, they just got rid of a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, I miss Blockbuster. We used to have one in town, and I miss it a lot, And
so now when you get like some of the movies I bought them for like 50 cents with the wrappings on them.
Oh,
brand new.
wonderful.
Because they don't use them anymore. And you can go to a Salvation Army or thrift store and
you can, yeah.
VHS movies for like a quarter.
I know.
Because they don't use them anymore.
Yeah.
So I decided to have this collection to just collect them.
Wonderful.
Even though they don't play as well.
Wonderful.
But I've got quite a collection. I have like the Star Trek collection.
That's wonderful.
All 10 movies.
Yeah.
I have some Dean Martin Celebrity Roast.
Yeah.
That's before your time. They used to pick on movie stars, like all the movie stars would get together and they'd single out one actor and just pick on him for about an hour.
Yep.
And I've got the Disney collection. And how I got that, the library downtown, they used to have like thousands and thousands of VHS movies in there, and they switched over to DVDs and so on. So they were just going to get rid of the VHS movies, and they had this thing where you sign your name on a list, and they'll give you 2 bags, and you can take free as many VHS movies as you can get in 2 bags when they were getting rid of them. And they had it at the library downtown. And I happened to be number 7 on the list.
I didn't know they were getting rid of their
This was about a year or so ago.
Oh, no.
And I happened to be number 7 on the list. And that was how I got the Disney collection. Because when I went in there, there was hardly nobody in there. And they had like tables full, stacked of VHS movies that they would let you go through and just pick whatever one you wanted.
Dear, I haven't been to the library in a year, and I should have gotten their Wiggles VHS. I didn't know. If I had known, I would have gotten their Wiggles.
Well, this was well over a year or 2
Yeah,
ago
and I wouldn't.
when
If I had
did
known,
that.
I would have picked up that Wiggles one for free, because I love the Wiggles.
Yeah, they
children-
didn't even. I don't even think they advertised it on television. They were
No,
just getting rid of those
I'm
movies,
so
and they
disappointed,
had
yeah.
well, I hate to disappoint you. And they had for the public, they were just
Yeah.
literally giving them away. First come, first serve, that you had to sign up on a list.
I could have gotten the Wiggles. They had a very good Wiggles thing. I love the Wiggles. Children's show that they took off Sprout
Yeah.
TV.
And I got the whole Disney collection.
Wonderful.
I think I got a whole bag of Disney that day. I had
Wonderful.
like Lady and the Tramp. And
Wonderful.
yeah, all that. And it's just sitting in my living room. Well, see, I have them in drawers
Yeah.
and cabinets and things like that. So you don't know that I have them.
Amazing.
So every once in a while, it's just fun to just go back in time, get a Snow White or, whatever, and just watch it, along with all the other stuff I have.
Yeah. I've got tons at my apartment at home. I've got tons of VHS stacked up. My entertainment center just like piled high like this. All videotapes, and I can open up a drawer and there's some other videotapes, and then over here I got stacks of VHS, and I've got them in boxes, and in my bedroom I have on my shelf of some books of VHS tapes and DVDs, and oh man, so you see all these VHS tapes just sitting there
Well,
in a
I
pile.
have strategic put away, and I have those old-fashioned cabinets that they used to have for movies too.
Yes,
you know, the drawer.
Yes.
I have a lot of those at home stacked on top of each other. You know, stuff like that. So, While we're talking, I'm just playing this Flight of the Bumblebee.
Yeah, I'm
in
not
slow
very
motion.
organized. Oh, of course, that's excellent because that's Neil Diamond. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got that. Yeah. Neil Diamond. Yeah.
You know, if you did this about 1,000,000,000,000 times, you'd work up your speed on this
Mhm.
song.
Yeah.
It sounds nice slow too, you
Mhm.
know.
Yep. Bumblebee sting. Ever been stung by a bumblebee?
Oh,
They
yeah.
hurt.
I know.
Oh.
Actually, I got stung by a wasp.
I've been.
That was just
that's happened.
painful. What happened was, I had put my hand in this bush once, and something said, and the next thing I know, my hand literally swelled. My right hand swelled like this in a lump within seconds. And when I went to the hospital, there was no allergic reaction or anything. The doctor just said, this is going to take you about a day. It'll go down. The swelling will go down, and it did. I didn't get sick or anything, but
That's good.
it was just so uncomfortable, and it was a very painful bite,
Was it a yellow jacket?
probably.
Yeah. Well, what happened one time when I was the first year of my place, the place I live in now. But anyway, I had just gotten up from bed. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. Crawled back into bed, and it was this arm. I felt like my
Yeah,
arm was on fire.
they feel like they got sharp teeth. They just dig right
Exactly.
into
It's
your
like,
skin,
what
you know?
happened? And there was a wasp, a hornet, a yellow jacket in my bed with me, and I swatted it and I swatted it.
Yeah.
And then, I took it outside and I kind of joked. Do you remember that line from Star Trek: The Naked Time, where they were all kind of drunk with this space virus that they had gotten?
Okay.
And remember, Mr. Riley, who was a crew member, said, "You interrupted my song, Mrs. Uhura. There'll be no ice cream for you
I
tonight."
remember that. Yeah, that was Lieutenant Kevin Rowe, right?
Yeah.
Whatever his name was.
Well, anyway, I kind of did that. I said, "That was very mean of you, rude of you, stinging me like that. There'll be no ice cream for you tonight."
I remember that
Yeah,
episode.
yeah, it was cool. So I just put the wasp outside. I swatted it, put the wasp outside, and kept it. Yeah, it's funny, but I felt very draggy the next day. Thankfully, Joel from MCAT, he suggested, crushing some aspirin, putting in some water, and rubbing that, and it did work. It got out the poison.
Good.
Because I felt so draggy, but they hurt. Bumblebees hurt. I ran over a bumblebee nest one time when I was mowing my relative's lawn, parents' lawn, and I thought they were just mosquitoes on my back. I thought the mosquitoes are. Oh, it was a bumblebee hitting me on the neck. Ow, ow, and it just, that hurt. That hurt. The bumblebee, They sting. I didn't mean to run over its nest. I didn't even know it had a nest. They burrow in the ground.
Yeah. I remember the old place where I used to live. I used to live in a trailer years ago. And it was a big nest right up top of my roof on the outside of my patio. And I hated to have to get rid of it, but I said, boy, if I don't nip this in the bud and get rid of that thing, I'm going to really have a problem. So I took a broom and I knocked it down. All of a sudden, a couple of them hornets got ticked, and they started circling around and trying to get me, and I had to hurry up and go inside.
Yeah, that's why I think it's best to, if you have like bug spray, wait till nightfall, like 10 o'clock at night when they're all asleep and they're all in their hive, and just stay a distance and spray and spray and spray. They'll all drop dead, to sweep them the next morning, but
yeah,
that's a lot safer, if there's a big hornet's nest, If it's a really big one, call an exterminator.
Oh yeah.
Like a big paper wasp net, or like a potter's paper wasp net with the really bad hornets that's really big, and like 50 or 75 of them, you gotta call an exterminator. Yep. They're dangerous. That can be a dangerous
It's
thing.
hard to do that at normal speed on these kind of pianos, but anyway, that's fun talking about hornets.
Yeah.
But speaking of hornets, I used to play a character years ago when I was in Vegas, and it was called the Brown Hornet. And I had a bumblebee on my chest, and I wore these gloves. I used to play for the Las Vegas minor league baseball team, and I had this mask on. And so my former boss, I was telling you about Pat Guidry, when we used to do these concerts at night, they used to call me the Brown Hornet on stage. They introduced me as the Brown Hornet instead of Asaph. So those were just fun days,
Definitely.
They were just good old fun days.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
And now the piano or the trumpet, or because I could play a trumpet still at that time,
Yeah.
whatever instrument I did for that moment. And we got the Brown Hornet with us tonight.
Yep.
So they used to introduce me as a Brown Hornet on a concert stage. It was funny, but
Yep.
I sure miss those days.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to live in Vegas, but
Yeah, definitely.
if I were to ever go back to that part of the world and perform, I'd live in like Hendersonville or some
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
neighboring cities. and just drive into the Strip.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
And I'm not picking on Vegas personally. I mean, there's a lot of cool things to see and do, but like any of those big cities, it can get kind of wild.
Exactly.
So I'd rather just live out in the outskirts and just come
in the desert. Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna have to work.
Yeah.
And Pat and I, his group was called the High Rollers, and they used to play at the Marina Hotel, which is across from the Tropicana at that time. And it was a fun job. It was such a fun job. It was so fun watching and listening to Pat Guidry sing song after song at night. What I did was I took this, I probably didn't need it, but I took this job at the Tropicana in the daytime. It was like a change person. They used to wear these little belts, and they would click and give change for $1, and so people could play the slot machines and so And so I used to walk around that all day, just click the button, 4 quarters of Fallout. They don't do it like that now because we've got technology and so on. That's the way it used to be. And then at night, I'd go to the Marina Hotel and get ready to play all kinds of stages with Pat. So
I've only been through Vegas because on my way to see some relatives down in New Mexico, we had to go through the Vegas airline. We stopped in Vegas to make another plane change, so I was in Vegas for a little bit, like a couple hours in their airport. You know, they even had slot machines in the airport. I couldn't believe it. You know?
Oh yeah, you know what's interesting about Nevada? When you're on the Greyhound bus, and you're about to leave that state to go into Utah, they have like this one lone hotel right on the borderline.
Oh.
Literally, it's like you pass this hotel, right? And as soon as you pass the property and you enter into Utah, I don't know the name of the hotel. It's like this one lone hotel out there. It's just this last ditch effort to get you to go in there and play the slots or come in there and play the slots. But hey.
Yeah. I'll admit, Vegas looks beautiful at night because I've seen, Vegas taking off at night when I took the plane out of Vegas, and beautiful with all lit up and all the hotels and the.
Can you imagine the money that must go through Vegas?
Oh my word,
Probably millions. And millions of dollars that go through Vegas every day.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I liked the work when I was in Vegas because there's a lot of work if you're a musician.
Well, that's good.
And see, what's interesting about Vegas, they have what's called the main strip. Where they have like the Tropicana and Caesar's Palace. And Pat played on the main strip, so I was fortunate enough to play one there. And then when you get to the end of that strip, they have what's called the downtown strip, or the Fremont experience. And that's interesting too, but that's not as fancy per se as the main strip, but it's just as good in a lot of ways. So there's a lot of things that you can see in Vegas and so on.
I wouldn't even want to be a tourist there, though. I just wouldn't.
No, it's a lot of fun to tour. It really is fun to tour.
Really interesting.
Yeah, like
the crime and the violence and that kind of thing. And I don't gamble. So
I think they're pretty controlled for the most part.
Yeah, I don't even gamble, so there's not much to do if you're not a gambling man. Well, just the restaurants.
You could go on this. Well, you could go to the hotels, for example, like Circus. They used to have the tiger shows. You go there and have a meal and watch the shows with the animals and stuff. That was pretty cool. And then, of course, they had the Liberace Museum there at one time, where you could get a tour and see the cars and see all the gowns that Liberace used to wear and the pianos and stuff. And what does Asaph do? I jumped over the rope.
Cool.
I made myself at home on one of Liberace's piano. And I was sitting there, I think I was playing Moonlight Sonata.
Cool.
I got about 3/4, and I had a crowd. This is a true story. I had a crowd around me, because the people were in line. And they were watching me on Liberace's piano playing Moonlight Sonata. And somebody said, "Sir, excuse me, you're not supposed to be on that piano." And they made me stop right when I was like 3/4 into the song. Like, oh, man.
Yeah. I'd probably see Wayne Newton. If I were in Vegas, I'd want to see Wayne Newton. That's what I would go.
Let's play Donkey Shane,
I would see Wayne Newton,
So would I.
Because he was in that movie Vegas Vacation, with Chevy Chase. That was hilarious. Wayne Newton actually played a big role, and he stole the whole movie. It was hilarious.
I can believe that.
Yeah. But yeah, you can gamble yourself into there or blow all your money. That was the theme of the movie. They took a Vegas Vacation. The Griswolds went to Vegas. Well, Chevy Chase, I can't even remember his name, Clark Griswold, thought he could beat the casinos but he blew all his money. He blew the family fortune. He just addicted to gambling, and finally his redneck cousin, and I can't even remember the redneck cousin's name, helped him out. They did get their money back in the end, but it was just funny. And they saw Wayne Newton. Wayne Newton was a side plot, and it was just hilarious.
Did he sing Donka Shane? I didn't see that. I saw the first one, the original.
That was hilarious. I have that on tape. That was so funny. He didn't sing Donka Shin. He sang some others I hadn't heard of, including that one I was singing.
Well, Wayne Newton had a lot of hits anyway.
He did. Yeah.
Any song that he might have did in a film, I'm sure.
Oh, fantastic! It was funny. I about died laughing.
Here's Wayne Newton, way up here, right?
Yeah.
Here's everybody else.
I know. And that's where I heard of Wayne Newton, was from Vegas Vacation. I wouldn't have known who he was,
No, he was. In fact, when I was in Vegas, his name was really on the marquee, and I told you my former boss's name was on the marquee too. I think it was the Riviera Hotel, if I remember that correctly. And you would see Wayne Newton's big print, and my boss would be under there, a little bit smaller, but still big print.
Yeah.
Pat Guidry, you'd see it on the marquee there, and this man gave me a chance when I was a kid. When I was like in my early 20s, he gave me a chance. And I was like the baby of the. I was like really the baby of the family, or the band at the time. The least experienced at that time.
Yeah.
And he gave me a chance.
Yeah.
So he'd tell me what he want me to do, and I would just do it.
Yeah.
So, but as far as if you're a musician in Vegas, that's a good place to work.
That would be. That would be
excellent. If I were to go back to Vegas now, there's only one thing I would really be interested in at this point in my life. And that's going to the Fashion Mall, because they hire piano players to play in the mall.
Yes.
And that mall is so big that they got like 2 or 3 or 4 piano players strategically set throughout the mall, so they don't clash. And that would be what I would be interested in if I were going to ever consider instead of trying to be in a major hotel again, because that's hard. I mean, it's cool if you get your name up on lights, but then you got to work awful hard to get there. And then when you get there, you got to work awful hard to stay there. I mean, you got to be packing folks in and night after night. And people see it on the surface, and it looks cool and glamorous. But I know how hard that is.
Yeah, it would be, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I know exactly how difficult that would be. To get people to spend $40-50 on you a night, you better be sick.
Yeah.
You're gonna be out of a job. And it doesn't hurt when you got a hit record out or something.
Oh yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
It doesn't hurt at all. So, but I played in Vegas twice in my career. First time was with Pat Guidry and the High Rollers. The second time was on behalf of the Salvation Army. And what I was doing was, they sent me to a Target store out there, and I would play in front of the Target store and raise money. During the red kettle.
Yes.
When they had the ring the bell. Instead of me ringing the bell, I was doing my music, and they put a kettle next to me, and I was raising about $300 to $400 a day.
Good.
A day, and then they, the Salvation Army would come around in the middle of the afternoon or at night when they pick you up, and they count the money, and that was very rewarding to me. And in fact, it was more rewarding to me than when I did my normal work in Vegas. Not that the normal work wasn't good, but it's because I was helping somebody else. Instead of just a job per se. Not that that's bad.
They do that during Christmas, don't they?
The Salvation Army. They take out those red kettles.
I know. Yep.
And people ring.
Yep.
And in my case, I just always did my music with a kettle next to me.
Oh, wonderful,
and I did that for 12 consecutive years.
I guess you played a lot of Christmas songs during that time.
No, I was doing my Sinatra stuff and everything. Cool. I did it all.
Wonderful.
Whatever I felt like doing, and it worked.
Yeah.
It's no different than being a street performer. The only difference is you're doing it on behalf of the Salvation Army.
Wonderful. And
I got nominated for the California Jefferson Award for community service in California for doing it. And when I got into my 5th year, that's when I got nominated.
Wonderful.
I got a letter from ABC. It was an Asaph, you've been nominated for your work with the Salvation Army for, the California Jefferson Award, which is a national award.
That's wonderful.
And if I had wound up winning that thing, they'd have had me plastered all over TV. But usually, it's always somebody for the Red Cross that ends up winning. That's a good thing. You can't beat the Red Cross. And I didn't do that to try to get famous or anything. I just really wanted to help people, and I really enjoyed it, see.
Mhm.
I did. And I did it for 12 years for the Salvation Army.
Mhm.
But after that, when I got into my 10th year, in my case, it was starting to become too physically hard for me to do that all day.
Mhm.
As I was getting older, and you know, I was still playing my horn at that time, even though I knew how to play the piano, and it was getting to the point where it was physically too much for me. So after my 12th year, I stopped
Mhm.
playing for the Salvation Army. But those were some wonderful memories for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
To be able to play for 2 months every day for about 8 hours a day, and I rested too.
Yeah,
so
oh
I
yeah.
didn't kill myself. But I was making a lot of money.
Good.
In fact, the first year I ever did that, I did it at Sunrise Mall in Sacramento,
Yeah.
and I set the all-time record that first year raising money on behalf of the needy.
Wonderful.
I think that record probably still stands to this day in Sacramento.
Oh,
I don't know,
wonderful.
but it was just fun.
Mhm.
And they always sent me to Sunrise Mall when I was in Sacramento. You know, when I was in Vegas, they sent
Mhm.
me to the Target store.
Mhm.
I did 6 years in Sacramento. I did 5 years here in Montana when I came here, and of course 1 year in Vegas.
Mhm.
That's 12. That's a wonderful memory.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved it when you played at the Southgate Mall for Christmas. That was a lot of fun.
But now just imagine doing that for the Salvation Army.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah.
I used to take my trumpet and I would stand in front of the kettle. I had nice clothes on and everything. And you know, so I was in nice weather in
Mhm.
Vegas and California. So you just sit out there and serenade folks all day long.
Mhm.
And I had a lot of fun doing it. So I don't play my trumpet much anymore. In fact, I don't anymore. I had some dental issues and lip issues, or embouchure issues they call it. So I just knew it was time to quit. And I've got this statue at home of this guy playing a trumpet that this sweet old middle-aged lady gave me. Her name was
Wonderful.
Sally. Her name was Sally Hughes. She was just such a sweetheart. She was like 81 or 82 at the time, and she used to travel a lot. So she knew that I was still playing trumpet at that time. So she bought this little statue, and it just looks like a Miles Davis playing or something. It's just the cutest little statue. It's about this big, and I wanted to set up a display like the Salvation Army to remind me of my work with the Army at that time.
Yep.
I miss those days playing for them.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just not able to physically do it anymore, but it was fun.
Yeah.
I played for them for 12 years.
Mhm.
I did it for 2 months, every single day, 5 days a week, for about 8 hours or so a day,
Wow.
and raised a lot of money.
Wonderful.
So praise God, that
Yep.
was fun, you know.
Yep.
But now I'm just focusing primarily on the piano these days. At this point in my life, it's easier for me because I can get into more places with the piano than I could with the horn.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, even though I was playing the trumpet, I still knew how to play the piano. So I'd be in situations where I get to play the piano instead of the trumpet, and I thought that was pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun.
Mhm.
But yeah, I miss those days.
Yeah,
Play something
yeah.
for you. See if you know this song. Oh, I forgot how to do it. Let me try it again. It's been a while since I've done it. Do you recognize it?
Nope.
Let me do it again. See if I can get it right this time. You don't know it, huh?
Nope.
That's called Shot in the Dark.
Huh.
That's the name of that song. It was from the Peter Sellers Pink Panther film.
Huh.
So, anyway, well, that's probably before your time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I watched the Pink Panther cartoon when I was a kid. I
No,
always
we're not
watched-
talking about the cartoon. Oh, they played that in the cartoon, but the movie too.
Oh, okay. I
It
never
went
saw
on
the
to become-
movie. I never saw the.
It went on to become a theme song when
Mhm.
Peter Sellers, the actor, did the Pink Panther movies, and he played Inspector Clouseau, the
Mm-hmm.
bumbling. He's like Columbo, just this
Yeah.
goofy detective that could solve things.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Columbo. I just think it's such a brilliant show to me.
I never watched Columbo.
Really.
No.
I mean, this guy couldn't do kung fu. He couldn't shoot. He could barely drive. He had this cute basset hound that
Mhm.
he used to ride his car with him. And he'd tell his dog to stay in the car while he go try to solve a murder. And the dog would just jump out the car.
Mhm.
But he'd end up solving these heinous murders in a most unlikely way. And that's what was so fun about this character of Columbo.
Huh.
He could just solve. I mean, he would just solve
Yeah.
and catch bad guys left and right. And he wore his trench coat.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, sir. One more thing. One more thing. And they had this song in the commercial. This one, the
Yep, cool.
They always played that in the Columbo commercials.
That's cool.
So that was just a fun show.
Yeah.
Peter Falk just left a great detective show.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think it's one of the best detective shows of all time. It may not be as fancy as Law and Order, obviously,
Yeah.
because it was in a different time period. So their storylines might be a little bit more tame.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Watching Peter Falk as Columbo.
Mhm.
I always enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching him.
Yeah.
He would just catch bad guys all the time. And what was interesting about that show was some of the actors that were killers.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dick Van Dyke was a murderer on one
Uh-huh.
episode. And Robert Conrad, played Wild Wild West. He was a bad guy on
Yeah.
one of those. And they always had these famous people that were killers.
Yep.
And Columbo would catch them.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the way it was at that time.
Yeah.
I guess their storylines weren't what you would call necessarily relatable like Law and Order,
Mhm.
but anyway, they still show Columbo I think every Sunday night on MeTV, and it's just
Oh, interesting.
it's just so fun to watch.
Interesting.
It's just a clean whodunit gotcha movie. Is the way to
Interesting.
describe it. So it's just fun watching
Mhm.
that show. And I have some Columbo on my VHS
Yeah, yeah.
collection. I have the pilot to that.
Interesting.
And so on. And in the 60s, they did a slew of spy shows.
Mm-hmm.
They had Get Smart.
Oh, yeah.
They had The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Mm-hmm.
They had, I don't know if you know The Man from U.N.C.L.E. That was,
I never watched it.
and they
yeah.
had The Saint with
Mm.
Roger Moore. Let's see if I can figure out, hold it. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Yeah. But yeah, and I used to watch a lot of those shows too. And oh gosh, they had all kind of spy shows when I was a
Mhm.
little boy growing up. But that was the way television was at that time.
Yeah.
When they did a western, they focused on western, and in a spy show, they focused on spy shows and all kinds.
Yeah.
But that was television. Now television is kind of just everywhere these days. Now.
I know. I know.
And I don't care for a lot of the television
Nor
shows
do I,
that are
yeah.
out there, but and then the older shows in the 60s and 70s, they may not be as fancy, they may not be as what's the word, special effects, but
Yeah.
they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
So
Well, like I was saying last episode, I miss TV Guide. Did you ever pick up TV Guide?
yes, I did. I used to.
I
they used
miss-
to have these little tiny magazines. that they
Yeah,
had
and
on
I miss
paper.
TV Guides. They don't have TV Guides anymore. I
No,
miss.
we got YouTube and all that now. You don't really need it, I suppose. but-
Yeah, but I miss flipping them just to see what's
Yeah,
going
it was,
to be on.
yeah, it was
with
fun
the-
to take an old TV guide and look at a show and
It's-
see what's coming
oh,
on.
definitely,
Yeah,
you know.
that was fun. But that was a different era, it's a different
Yeah.
time. A lot of people probably won't even remember what a TV guide was
Yeah.
because, with everything we got out there these days.
Well, for you kids or anyone watching too young to remember TV Guide, they were kind of
Yeah, they were
pamphlets
these
and they
tiny
had,
little magazines.
Yeah, and they would
tell
show
you-
the
They did the
24
whole week, yeah.
Yeah, the whole 24 hours, even in the morning, Saturday morning
Right.
cartoons.
Mhm.
Super Friends is on, Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Battle of the Planets is on, and then this, and on this, then later in the evening,
Yeah, and
Battlestar
then they would tell you
Galactica.
what time the show comes on. So it was that
Yeah,
was
and
fun.
they had interviews with TV actors, and they always their new fall preview, the new fall shows and kid shows. It was a lot of fun because you could see at 5 o'clock, Star Trek is on, The Man Trap. They're showing The Man Trap. Okay, and okay, yep, and then this is gonna be on, and this is gonna be on today, and this is Good Morning America's on at 8 o'clock, and then in the evening this is gonna be on Chips or whatever, and just flip through and plan your TV, Yep. Do you remember Battle of the Planets then? You're playing it. You're playing the theme
No,
song to
that's-
Battle of the
that-
Planets.
Actually, I was trying to play the Super Friends to do it again.
Oh, yeah, that is the Super Friends. Yes. Yes. Love that. Yeah, I miss all those Saturday morning cartoons. I miss them all, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was such a cool cartoon to see.
Yeah, it was.
I always enjoyed watching that.
Definitely, definitely.
And these people that are watching you and I talk probably know who the Super Friends are.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was a fun cartoon to watch.
Yeah. Well, basically, Superman had given all the DC superheroes. He put them into one organization called the Super Friends to fight for truth and justice in a place called the Hall of Justice.
Right.
Superman was the leader, but then the bad guys, the super villains, got together their own legion. They called the Legion of Doom, headed by Lex Luthor and all the others. And they were always
bad guys. Yeah, so Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and Aquaman and the Wonder Twins. You know, I could just get off on that cartoon.
Absolutely,
that was such a fun cartoon.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Wonder Twin powers
activate. Yeah, I just love that.
They get all strong, you know.
Oh,
it was just
fantastic.
Just such a cool cartoon.
It was.
They don't even make cartoons like that
They
anymore.
don't, sadly. Yeah.
They had like Green Lantern and the Flash.
Yeah, they did.
Had, Birdman.
Birdman, I love. Birdman from the '60s, I loved that.
Yeah, and they were all part of the Super Friends. It was just so fun watching that cartoon. It was so fun. That was such a fun cartoon.
Oh, it was fantastic.
So I
Challenge of the Super Friends was fantastic.
All of them, just even I like the original one.
Yeah, same here in the '60s. I liked that one
and
too.
They had Wendy. We can't forget Wendy Marvin and Wonder Dog.
Yeah, exactly.
They were in the original one, so that was kind of fun. But anyway, I wanted to talk about dreams too.
Same here. You
know, we got plenty of time. Let's do that now. And that song I did at the beginning of this program was called "Put Your Dreams Away for Another Day."
Mm-hmm.
And Linda mentioned in the last program the New Testament verse about train up a child in the way they should go. Mm-hmm. They usually use that in a spiritual sense as far as God and Christ and so on, and that's fine. But I think you can take that verse to train your child to whatever their interests are.
Yes, indeed.
Because a lot of parents, as I said on the last show, and I experienced this too, the parents, I'll just play some chords. Mm-hmm. The parents, they have these kids, and they want to mold these kids into what the parents think that kid should do, like following their footsteps or something. I know, yeah. And then if that child starts getting older and decides he wants to do something else, and the tension starts. Mm-hmm. See? And some parents would threaten their kids, like I mentioned, to kick them out of the house.
Yeah, it's horrible,
if the kid doesn't have the dream that the parent wants them to have, or they'll just threaten the kids, or it's crazy.
Horrible, yeah.
And I don't think that should be done, because I went through that too with my parents growing up. And that's not to pick on my father.
Exactly.
He just wanted me to follow in his footsteps and be an Air Force man as a career, and that just was not for me. Yeah,
definitely.
And I have nothing against the Air Force.
Right.
I think it's a wonderful organization. There's as the military, but I always tell people coming from a military family, you should be sure that's what you want.
Exactly.
Don't get in there because you think you've got this expectation you're going to have.
Exactly.
And then your plans change.
That's why I'm glad the military draft is over. I don't want to get political, but
no, I understand that. But
you're right.
Just, and they have, they would make these promises about a college education and stuff, and that's fine. But I don't think that's a good reason to get.
No, it's not.
Because if a war breaks out or something, then your dreams or whatever get put on hold. Mm-hmm. And I clashed with my dad a lot about that issue because I wanted to go to music school. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to pick on my father, but he wasn't supportive of me going to that conservatory. And so my band teacher, when I was a kid, he made the payments for me on my behalf.
Oh, good.
Because my parents would not support that dream.
Yeah.
He came up to Asaph, you got a dream, you just play too well. I'm gonna sacrifice and help you because I want you to go to this conservatory and get that chance.
Good.
And he paid my tuition fees.
Wonderful.
My old band teacher.
Wonderful.
His name was Monty Edison.
Wonderful.
He was a band teacher at Foothill Junior High School in Sacramento at the time. And I had already graduated, and I put 2 years in as a teacher's aide working for him.
Wonderful.
He was my old band teacher. After I graduated high school, I went back to my old junior high school, and I did student teaching for 2 years.
Wonderful.
And then he paid my tuition fees and so on, and allowed me to go to that conservatory. And he had met my father. Mm-hmm. And so Mr. Edison knew, Asaph, your dad's just not going to support you on that. He knew that. So he did that. And that's how I got into that
That's
school.
wonderful. Well, you know, if I had kids, they might not be a chip off the old block. I mean, my son or sons might hate science fiction and love sports, but I'm not going to say you're going to love science fiction.
I
you're
know,
going
and
to,
that's
you know,
it, and
exactly.
a lot of parents be trying to shove their dreams onto
Exactly.
their kids.
Exactly.
And that's what I went through, and that's just not a good idea.
Exactly. If they want to play sports, I'll encourage them. If they want to swim, and I don't like swimming,
Right.
I'll let them
Encourage
swim and
that,
encourage
yeah.
them whatever they want. If they want to be athletic, and I'm not athletic at all, but if that's their
Neither
dream,
am I,
that's
but
great.
yeah, I know.
Even if they hate science fiction, as long as they're respectful about the fact that I love science fiction. But
Yeah.
they might not be a chip off the old block. Maybe they will be, maybe they won't. But that's fine. Let them be what they want, as long as they're following in the Lord's way. You know, as long as
Yeah, and just doing what their heart desires. I'm just watching our time. We got plenty of time still.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that dream, put your dreams away for another day. I
Yeah.
know Sinatra did a beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
you know, singing that, but no, you wouldn't want to put your dreams away.
No, you
Not
wouldn't.
for real. You want to follow your dream. And I always tell people, if they have an opportunity, follow your dreams.
Yeah.
You don't want to live your life and look back and say, gosh, I wish I'd have pursued
Exactly.
that. You'll be too old, it'll be too late. And a lot of people are afraid to follow their dreams because they think they're going to fall off the edge of the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
They think they're not going to eat and all that. And that could be, that's nothing is further from the truth.
Exactly.
And when I was 19 when I went to the conservatory,
Mhm.
and I was always told, you're not going to make it, or some bad thing, right? And nothing bad happened. Great things
Yeah.
happened.
Exactly.
Because after I went to the conservatory, I got my first job in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wound up meeting Bumps Blackwell,
Yep.
who was Little Richard's manager.
Mhm.
He became my teacher.
Yep.
Studied with the man for 3 long years.
Yep.
And lived with him. So,
Mhm.
you know, I just tell people, follow your dream. You're
Mhm.
not going to fall off the edge of the world
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Because, and I have nothing against the 9-to-5 system. I've said this before. You want to work at Walmart?
Yeah.
Go there. Do it and be the best you can be. You want to
Yeah.
dig a ditch? Dig a ditch.
Mhm.
You want to be a farmer? Do it.
Yeah.
You want to be a pianist? Do it.
Exactly.
Follow your dream. Don't be
Mhm.
afraid. But a lot of people get afraid.
Mhm.
They won't pursue that. They won't make that step to pursue
Mhm.
that. And it's sad.
Yeah.
And you only get so much time on
Yeah.
earth, you know. So follow your dream. Get a plan and just follow it.
Yeah.
Pursue it. And go into it with the right motives.
Right.
Don't go into music because you want to be a zillionaire.
Yeah.
Do it because you love it.
Exactly.
Because the ones who become millionaires are far and in between
Uh-huh.
in music. There are, you know, most musicians, you'll never hear of them, but they make a comfortable living. They may
Exactly.
work at a Nordstrom's as a piano player. They may work
Mhm.
in a hotel somewhere. You know,
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
Or a mall or something. But I mean, I enjoy playing the piano at the mall when I get to do that every year. That's one of my favorite gigs every year here in Missoula. When I
Mhm.
get to play the piano at the Southgate Mall,
Mhm.
I get more joy out of that probably than
Yeah.
any other gig that I've done, with the exception of maybe this show.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll take some more of that secret ingredient.
That's the good stuff.
Yeah, it's enough. Just want a little bit, just
Mhm.
a taste. That's such a great line in Star Trek 5. I just love that line.
Yeah.
Dr. McCoy puts a little, you know, puts a little alcohol in the beans. Got the Kirk, got any more of that secret ingredient?
Yeah.
No, I'm not in condoning alcoholism.
Yeah,
I just
exactly.
find it amusing.
Yeah.
line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, we were talking about dreams, and I want to lead up to Manny Stepanek.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
He was wonderful.
he unfortunately was the little boy that had the, I think, was it the neurological disorder?
Yeah. Muscular dystrophy.
Muscular dystrophy. And in the short time that he was here with us, I think he left a great impact
He did.
about the disease and talking about dreams. I think he was
He called them
Right.
heart songs.
a bright star that
He-
shined for a season.
Yeah, I have all his books. I even read them on my old show, The Awful Truth About Society. I did a couple of tributes to Matty Stepanek.
Uh-huh.
He wrote the most beautiful poetry about love and peace because he was also a peace activist.
Oh, yeah.
And a
even though he was
devout
in his
Catholic,
chair,
you know.
but
Yeah.
uh-huh.
He was a devout peace activist. He loved peace. He loved God, he loved the Catholic Church, he loved other people, and he really wrote and was a crusader for peace, as well as a goodwill ambassador for muscular dystrophy.
Well,
But
I've not walked those shoes, and
Yeah.
everybody wants to be in good health, and
Yeah.
hopefully that will never happen to me. But
Um,
I can't imagine what
oh yeah,
parents must go through if they have a child that has muscular
Yeah,
dystrophy,
and-
or even an adult. I
yeah.
just it's
His mother had the adult onset of the disease. And
His mother did?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it was because I read his books, and his other siblings, Jamie, let's see, Jamie, oh good gravy, who else was I can't even remember his other siblings, but 3 siblings passed away of the disease.
From his family?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm sorry to
He
hear
had
that.
siblings, and Jamie and Jamie and
But Manny stuck out though. I think he was on the Oprah Winfrey show.
He was,
I
yeah.
think he was on the Jerry Lewis telethon at the time.
Mhm.
And he was just spreading
Yeah.
this message of love and joy and what
and
have
it
you.
was wonderful. Yeah, I saw him on Larry King Live, even after his death. I saw him after his death. I had never heard of Matty Stepanek. But then after that, I had to get all his books, which sadly are out of print, except for a couple of them.
Yeah.
And I just loved his poetry. It's so beautiful and kind, and about
can
religion
imagine.
and spirituality and love and peace. And he did the most beautiful crayon drawings of like
Now,
heaven
we
and
lost him when he was, what, 12? Or
13.
Okay.
He died in the year 2004.
Yeah, well, what a great legacy that
Yeah,
young
he
boy
was.
left. Yeah, I mean, he was an instrument,
Yeah.
star to shine for
Yeah.
a while. And I think God, in his life, used him and
Absolutely.
worked with him, and cool. So
Yeah, it was just wonderful.
I know it's been so many years. The condolences to the Stepanek family after all these years.
Yeah, yeah.
So Manny's with God now.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
He ain't walking around no chair no more.
Yeah.
He's probably doing cartwheels.
Oh,
up
he
and
is,
down
yeah.
and stuff, and just whatever. And that's something that we all have to look
Mhm.
forward to, is heaven for those who have asked
Yeah.
Christ to be their Savior.
Yeah.
And that's a cool thing to have to
Yeah.
look forward to.
Yeah, it was incredible. He always talked about heart songs and following your dreams like that, whatever your
Yeah.
heart song is. And his heart song was to hear his heart song and help others to hear theirs as well. I mean, he even said, and teaching heart songs is not the same for everybody. I mean, everybody has a different heart song, and the differences are what make them beautiful. So like your heart song is doing the piano
Oh, I
and
love
be
the
on the
piano.
show, and that's your heart song. I guess my heart song is just to be myself or do whatever what I'm doing. Maybe even sleeping in. I love sleeping in. It's kind of
I do on occasion.
I love sleeping in.
But this show brings
Yeah.
me a great joy.
It does. Same here. Same
It
here.
really does.
Yeah.
When I first created this show 2 years ago, I didn't think it would get as far as it's gotten.
Yep.
It was just an idea at that time.
Yep,
You saw
yep.
those old primitive. I had those 2 brick walls right over there
Yep,
at the
yep.
time. But this show has been such a blessing.
Yeah, definitely.
Praise God, I want to give God some glory
Absolutely.
here about Asaph Cafe, because this show is a joy in
It
my
is.
life. And I introduced it to PBS
Yeah.
finally. So if they accept this,
Mhm.
we'll be doing this cafe with PBS. The
Wonderful.
same thing. No, I'm not going to change a thing.
Wonderful.
I'm going to keep it the same. Just a guest comes on and talks to me as I play the piano. Of course, I didn't do much playing today in this
Mhm.
episode, but just mostly chords. But it's just fun.
Mhm.
Asaph Cafe. It's just such a joy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it
As I
is.
look back at my life, this is one of the most fun things I ever got to do with my entire
Yep.
life.
Yep.
Is this show.
Yep.
That's how important it is to me. It's a
Wonderful.
lot of fun.
Yep.
And to have people be part of it, like yourself and Linda and Patty and
Mhm.
all the rest of the people and the guests that come on. I don't always express it, but it brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And I go
yeah.
home at night and I study these
Oh yeah.
shows that we tape before I submit them
Yeah.
to Lori to be on the air. And it's just a fun. And look at this beautiful
Yeah,
set.
it is.
And look at all the sets we've had
Yeah.
since we've done the
Here's some
virtual.
water to drink.
Yeah.
Delicious water.
And when we
Let's-
did the Lawrence Wilkes set, you were trying to pop the bubbles
Yeah,
on the hill.
yeah.
It was just such fun. But
Yeah.
that's my point is,
Exactly.
it's just such a joy to me, Asaph
Mhm.
Cafe. And good Lord willing, we'll be doing a lot of cafes.
Yep. Yep.
Do that Lawrence Welk show someday.
Mhm.
So, but I do enjoy this set.
Oh yes.
It's a beautiful set.
Mhm. It
I don't know
is.
what city it is,
Maybe it's on another planet somewhere, a parallel Earth.
Who knows?
Yep.
Speaking of parallel, before we go, I was watching Mirror Mirror, the Star Trek episode.
I saw.
Mirror
Yeah, that was
Mirror.
excellent.
And
Yeah,
when
it
they
was
went
on
to
last
that,
week. Yeah,
that alternative
fantastic.
universe.
Yep.
Can you imagine what that must have been like? You're like on a landing party, right? You step off
Yeah.
the transporter, and everybody you know is the same person but different. They see Spock with the beard.
Yeah, that was one of the best ones. That was
Yeah.
on last week. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and I happened to see that just last week on MeTV, and I was like, oh my goodness. And everybody was bad.
I know. Well
And
acted, very, yeah.
It was just such a great episode.
Yeah, it was.
And they move up rank through assassination. Mirror, mirror. And,
Yeah.
And it was cool. And so then Spock was able to figure out, in the good Spock,
Yeah.
was able to figure out that the counterpoints were not
Exactly.
'cause
Yeah.
if you're bad and you're thrust into a good world, it'll be noticeable.
Yeah. It would be. Yeah.
Way noticeable instead of the other way around.
Mhm.
Star Trek, what a great concept.
Yeah, it was
you know?
fantastic.
Speaking of Star Trek, let me do this for you here. You'll recognize that one.
Voyager.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I could never get into Voyager. For some reason, I couldn't get into Voyager. You know, I had a great idea. But I think they could have used a lot more imagination with like stranger aliens and a lot more incredible, plots like as they were thrown way deep into space. So
that's Star Trek Voyager. Here's another one here.
Did you ever remember Enterprise with the
Yeah,
prequel?
I like that one too.
I didn't like that one very
Here's
well
another
either. Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
I didn't like that one either. Couple episodes, but they were on this big space station.
Yeah,
Deep
well,
Space
you know
Nine.
what I liked about that show? It reminded me of my childhood away
Uh-huh.
because my father was always stationed on a base, and
Uh-huh.
so that Deep Space Nine, that's kind of what it was like being on the base.
Yeah.
So they didn't like fly across the universe. It was just episodes based on the base.
Yeah.
And I could relate to that.
Yeah.
But
Ferengi-
I did like Enterprise too.
I didn't. I just couldn't get into it somehow. For some.
It was different. What
Yeah.
it was is, I think the
It was a prequel,
technology was better than the originals, and so it was kind of out of place.
It was. That's the whole
Because,
thing.
I mean, if it had made it more primitive, it probably would have been more relatable, I think.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Their top speed was only warp 4.
Yeah.
And Captain Archer was pretty cool.
Mhm,
So.
Yeah.
But that's just cool, the Star Trek movies.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Star Trek, we're almost out of time. We only got a couple of moments left. You got any last minute things you'd like to say? And
Yes, there were these 2 dryers, and they were looking at Culligan water, but there wasn't any soda pop in it. So they stuck out their tongues wanting soda pop, and so this one washing machine came along and say, "Oh, I can't see around that! Ha ha ha!" Wasn't that hilarious?
I'll say this again, my friend. Don't quit your day job. No, but anyway, I enjoyed this show, this one.
Same here.
And I'm glad we got to talk about dreams and Maddie.
Yes, I
and
agree. Maddie Stepanek, yep.
Star Trek and.
I would have loved to have met Maddie myself. I would have.
You never
loved
got to meet him in real life?
Never. I never met Maddie Stepanek in real life. I wish I could have, but I never got to meet him.
Well, I'm sure he was probably a very wonderful.
Oh yeah. I never got to meet him. I just saw him on CNN, and this was after I was flipping through the channels. It was Lord's Providence, and I
Yeah.
saw him. They did a tribute to Maddie Stepanek after his death, and I didn't even know who he was, because I don't watch Or for Renfear, that other things, quite that much. So I didn't know. Then I got all his books, and I just loved it. I thought, what a great kid this would have been to meet, and hang out with.
Well, let's end this cafe with acknowledgement of Manny Stepanek.
Matty,
And
yeah.
I know he's not here anymore, but
Mhm.
if his family ever sees this, we just gave a brief
Yeah.
tribute to your son.
Yeah.
And on that note, on my left, affectionately, our aging rocker Emmet.
Mhm.
And I enjoyed this one.
Same here.
It was fun, and we'll do some more one-on-ones. If like on a day we can't get a guest, and it's just fun to do this. And
Yeah.
I want to try that shot in the dark one more time. You never heard this song?
Nope. I heard of an easy listening song when I was flipping through the 947, because they say the artist and this title, 2 Cigarettes in the Dark, but I've never heard a Shot in the Dark.
That's the name of the song. something like that, one like
Yep.
that. And on that note, I guess since we made our acknowledgments, this is Asaph Cafe, and until our next show, Maranatha. I always freeze on that chord.
Yep.
So make yourself at home and we'll
Yep.
get this ready.